Newsfirst Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali.
And a wonderful morning to you. This is Newsline, live as always from the Newsfirst studios in Dawson Street in Colombo. And actually, it's a lovely morning up there today. And it wasn't wet, it was dry. Well, to celebrate the start of this wonderful day, to help me do that, is Mr. Rusripala Tenakun. Good morning to you, Mr. Tenakun.
Good morning, Faraz.
Suitably refreshed from your journey to Hyderabad.
Yes.
And a very big wedding, isn't it?
Oh my God, yes.
Thousands.
7,000.
7,000
invitees.
These Indian boys know how to do it, don't they?
Oh, they are spending so much on this.
And yeah, marvelous. I saw some photographs of that.
Yeah.
But that's nice that a young couple out there decided to tie the knot and try it out together in this journey of life. Brilliant. Now then, Mr. Rusripala, we have got so many different matters. The first of all that seems to be ever so confusing is the action of the Speaker, Mr. Karujaya Surya, with this crisis in Parliament. Because to begin with, first of all, on this Provincial Council's Amendment Act, a one-page document suddenly became 33. And even that seemed to have bypassed the Speaker's attention, who really ought to have asked him to have it gazetted again and then come back and have a debate. It's astonishing how various democratic norms are being usurped by people to obviously for a collateral purpose. And that purpose is anything other than representing the people's interest and the people's concerns. And of course, then the Island newspaper, Shamindra Ferdinando's headline story this morning is that the joint opposition flays Karu over crisis in Parliament, claiming that there is quite a material difference between the English and the Sinhalese version. And of course the Sinhalese version will have to prevail. Is that right, Mr. Rusripala?
Yes, according to the act that was passed, which is now law in this country, it says the Sinhalese version takes precedence over the English one in case of any doubt about the translations. You see, but for us what is important is, now this whole thing, however much people complain against it, or I mean they bring about various things about this has been democratically done, no?
Correct.
The Parliament has passed it with 2/3 majority. So this is, we have to bear with the democracy. This is what the democracy stands for.
Yes, indeed.
I mean, if the majority decides, we'll have to accept that it is a democratic step.
Yes.
How ethical, how acceptable it is are different things.
Yes.
But then this has become law.
Indeed.
But the thing is, in the process, certain things that has been now pointed out, maybe which will end up in litigation as well by public interest litigation people. That certain items that should not have been included to be discussed at a committee stage, or brought in as new factors to be debated at a committee stage in the Parliament, is supposed to have been there. So these factors will come to light in time to come. I think you and I will have to wait with the hands crossed to see what the outcome is. But one important thing we must say, this entire thing emanates from a requirement of the people to have the choice to elect good people to represent them. This has been a cry in the country.
And it was part of the manifesto, wasn't it?
It was. In fact, it came into the manifesto because even the people who contested elections felt that it was a need of the public. Things come into the manifesto to serve the people, people's requirement. So they identified that it was a requirement of the day and they included it in the manifesto. Unfortunately, if you go back into the past, you know, in the 100-day government, when this 20th amendment was brought in, and when there was sufficient room for the parliament to adopt it with a clear majority, with hardly any opposition at that time, they evaded that issue, no? They evaded that issue. I think the whole entire...
Why do you think?
I think the dissolution of the parliament in a hurry.
Because of?
Because of the bond issue.
Right.
The second COPE committee report was to be tabled. And the government was in a mighty hurry to do over and above anything and everything. They wanted not to discuss that report at that stage in the parliament.
And as a result, a year later, they were able to not just repeat the bond scandal, but do it at several times more than what they managed in February 2015.
Exactly. And you know, the time that we have lost since then about this electoral process which the people were clamoring to have, you know, they wanted to have a representative of their own to represent their whatever electorate or area, that local area or whatever that they wanted to be represented. I mean, and then to do away with this nasty proportionate system.
Indeed.
I mean, which is a colossal wastage of money, and it paves the way for thugs with money and with all kinds of things
to talk.
To money to talk. You know, they wanted an end to that state of affairs. So that was the main thing. But the way that the government did it, belatedly even, is not very clear. It's confusing again. Having waited for 2 more years after the dissolution of that parliament and the new parliament came into being, they have wasted 2 years of time. You know,
what have they been doing in this 2 years?
The voters in this country, Faraz, are not worried about how they are going to change the people who are not delivering what they want. They know how to change it. They will definitely do it. But they are worried the waste of time, their valuable time, by these people.
Indeed.
By doing nothing during this period, and that time is gone.
Let's see if we can ask some people to comment on it. You can send us your SMSs right here on 0772 300 305. Our producer, fresh from the Asian Games, will no doubt put a card on their screen. 0772 300 305. Tell us what you think about what we're discussing at the moment, which is the Provincial Council's Amendment Act and the delay, the potential delay in holding elections. If it's on your mind, send your SMS in. We were also talking about various other things. But just on this note, the Minister in charge of the subject, provincial councils and local government, the very Honourable Faiza Mustafa, says that these new acts will not cause injustice to anyone.
Yes.
But Mr. Spal, reading that thing this morning, you've come up with some form of concern, haven't you?
Definitely. As far as there is one thing that is, you know, as a layman, I don't know. I mean, this is a matter for the legal...
For a constitutional lawyer.
Lawyers to interpret and then bring a clear through light on this.
We will put the question to our panel.
Please do, because in the first reading, now you have section 3 of this amended act. Which deals with the delimitation, appointment of the delimitation commission.
Indeed.
According to this act, this what is passed day before yesterday, you know, the committee, the delimitation commission has to submit a report to the parliament. You know, within a period of 1 month. After they pass it, the parliament has to adopt it with the majority, 2/3 majority. And it says, there is a section here, in the event it is not approved by the parliament in that form, the speaker will appoint a review committee headed by the Prime Minister. I don't know whether
So let me get this right.
Yes.
What you're saying,
Yes.
what I understand from what I understood from what
Yes.
you've just said,
Yes.
is this printout says
Yes.
that there is a requirement for Parliament to vote on it.
2/3 majority.
With a 2/3 majority.
Yes.
And if they didn't get the 2/3 majority,
Yes.
that the Speaker will appoint a review committee
Yes.
to be headed by the Prime Minister.
And represented by other communities
Yes.
and
But
other...
this is after the event. Once Parliament has voted on it,
Yeah.
what's the point? What's the Prime Minister and others going to do? Carry a cane and go after them?
No, I see the situation that follows is also even worse. Now, it appears.
Yeah.
Now it says, where the Parliament does not approve such report in terms of subsection 1, within 1 month of the tabling of the report, then the Speaker shall appoint a review committee consisting of 5 persons representing the major community headed by the Prime Minister. Now, this committee will study the thing and make the necessary adjustments and submit a further report to the President.
Right.
And the President by proclamation will conclude the matter. Now,
Although it appears that although Parliament has not voted with the 2/3 majority.
yeah, this happens in the event the Parliament does not approve this. So I am at a loss to understand as a layman how this subsequent process that is recommended in this act, supersedes the need of the Parliament, the most supreme authority in the country,
Yeah.
When they have rejected something.
Right.
So, I mean, this is a matter that somebody should look into and then advise us.
Indeed.
I don't know.
Right, we will ask her. Now, where did you get the printout from?
This is in the public domain now. It's
All
in
right,
the internet.
so it's now they've uploaded it because we were waiting for that.
Uploaded.
We were waiting. Now
Yes,
they've
yes.
done it.
I downloaded it.
And of course now there's also a fundamental rights petition against the Provincial Council's bill that has been launched. So that will provide even more coverage for the media.
Yeah,
to
we have to
study.
wait and see. There are so many aspects that have been taken up. One is that I saw somewhere there's a report that in one of the fundamental actions that is filed or deemed to be filed, they claim that the bill that was discussed or tabled for discussion in Parliament was not the same that was referred to the Supreme Court.
Do you know, Mr. Spire, there is growing concern, and the people's patience have been tested to its maximum. Going back to this business about Parliament being prorogued or dissolved, in fact, just before, a day before, or on the day that the court report was due to be handed over, is absolutely diabolical. It's a complete usurping of the democratic values. And do you know, Mr. Spire, I'm sat there yesterday thinking about this and thinking, where on earth are these international watchdogs, self-appointed it may be, but watchdogs, this so-called, where is the International Democratic Union? And they must be very familiar with some of the politicians in the theatre of politics in this country, right? Well, it's completely out of order. Had that court report been heard, the course of our financial difficulties would have been a different course altogether.
No, it could have prevented a huge loss to the country.
Indeed.
By a repetition of another scam.
Absolutely.
So that is, and furthermore, Paras, I must bring this to the notice of everybody. Now, at the last stages during the 100-day government, what was most expected by the people who supported this movement to bring about a huge change in the political arena of this country was to have a good electoral system, the system of elections. I remember respected Reverend Sobitatero stating, he was totally disappointed by the fact that the Parliament could not carry or could not take a decision on the 20th Amendment. He was one of the most dissatisfied persons who was in the forefront of that movement. I know it as a fact because I spoke to him. And he said, what can we do? These people are trying to dissolve the parliament. This is what he had to state in the last stages. So it was a total disappointment to the people who expected a democratic, acceptable system of elections for the country at that time. And it is more dissatisfying that this government has taken over 2.5 years to bring about subsequently the necessary changes.
Yes, I mean, it's what they were doing for all this time is absolutely amazing. Some of our viewers have started sending their questions. One of them says here, as I understand, when the provincial council, elected by the people of the province, is dissolved, its powers are vested in the governor, appointed by the president, which sounds like a de facto coup by central government. I don't know whether you want to say anything about that. And another one, today's discussion, this government is carrying on with recommendations from other countries. It is time that the heads of the main Buddhist clergy and other leaders of other religious leaders take action. And much of that is going the same way. Some people are sending things about scurrilous news items on the internet. We won't talk about that because it's scurrilous. But there is, if we look at the messages we're getting, there is some form of colourblindness in the minds of the public.
Definitely there is a big concern by the people about the dissolution or the automatic dissolution or ending of the lives of the provincial councils, and what would happen thereafter. But you know, we'll have to accept this as a transitional stage where the government, with all the difficulties, with all partly contributory by them, delayed, that they are trying to introduce a new system which is more acceptable by the people for the election of their representatives into the provincial council arena. Now, if this happens in that way, it is good. Unfortunately, we have to bear with the hardness of democracies at certain times.
Indeed.
So this is what we are doing right now.
Yeah.
The people will have to bear with this. They have to wait.
Indeed.
Because they are now saying, they are now attributing the delay to the various constitutional and legal requirements.
Indeed.
Nothing else.
Indeed.
So although it appears to be a bit dictatorial, sometimes democracy itself is dictatorial for us.
Right.
It's the decision of the majority.
Of course.
What happens to the minority when the decision of the majority is in favor of the majority?
Yeah.
I mean, this has been there, no?
Yeah. Now then, that's a good observation. Now, somebody's brought to our attention this article written by Chandadeep Wettersinger, and that is to do with a meeting that a presentation by the Finance Ministry's National Public-Private Partnership Agency, and the chairman and the acting CEO is Tilan Vijayasinghe, who's no stranger to proceedings in the state.
Yes.
And but the bone of contention here is that the media were thrown out of an event which was, and therefore to restrict the public release of information. This was in spite of the fact that the media were told that the forum was open to them by the parent body of the organization. According to the event organizers, any business leader who had registered for the event by paying was able to participate in discussions with Vijayasinghe, who is a public official.
It is strange for us how a government body can conduct a discussion on investments and development in the country by closing the doors, closing the doors to the media. It is totally contrary and against and contradicting the view expressed by the president of this country. He, in fact, when the media pointed out that there were some questionable things happening in a deal that was related to the third stage of the highway, Central Highway. You know what the President proclaimed was, no, go and have a public discussion in front of the media. Such being the views of the head of the state in this country. I don't know how Tilan Vijay Singh, being a public servant, take up that issue and then shut out the doors for the public. And what the hell, I should say, pardon me for my word, are they going to discuss behind closed doors about development? I mean, if it is a national security issue or some issue concerning internationally related affairs affecting another country's position or sovereignty, I mean, at this type of absolute, I mean, this is
absolute tosh.
Nonsense.
Talking about people discussing and what are they doing, but some people are just seated next to each other, gazing at each other and not doing any discussions. And if our producer is able to play the clip of Ranil Wickremesinghe and Mahinda Rajapaksa, now obviously we're looking, our control room is scurrying around looking for that, but we'll play you that just to show you what we mean by this. All right, so
just a passingly reference for us, because you mentioned about this investment part. You know, we are all waiting for a budget and a new budget under a new minister, and with a new concept, we believe, because he has been saying certain things that are very acceptable by the statements. So now it is left for us to see indeed whether it is going to happen. But one thing we must point out, there was some news item in this in the papers sometime back that, you know, they are going to introduce a tax element to the foreign remittances and the foreign deposits. My God, Faraz. Now this is a thing. Now our second highest income foreign exchange earner for this country are the investment, the earnings, foreign earnings by our people who are employed overseas. And they bring their monies and put them in deposits in this country in the form of foreign currency, because they know that the foreign currency is appreciating and they like to have it because they hard-earned money from them. Now, if they are going to introduce a tax element to that, and on the one hand, on the other hand, the same government is going to raise foreign exchange loans from commercial banks at higher rates of interest. I mean, this is a very non-compatible position and policy.
Absolutely.
And somebody must open their eyes and see who is the one who has taken this decision to bring the foreign remittances and the foreign deposits in savings accounts or whatever taxable.
It's absolutely crazy. Talking about wasting money. The Southern Expressway, now this is not the Central Expressway, but this is the Southern Expressway from Matra to Hamban, you know, the extension bit. The contract was awarded at a staggering per kilometer cost of, wait for it, 19 million United States dollars. Right? $1.9 billion. 96 kilometers. Do the sums and you get what I'm saying.
It's a per kilometer rate.
What I'm telling you is a per kilometer rate. Now then, the University of Moratuwa did a review of this and came up with a suggestion which they could save 123 billion. Now then, we're playing this clip. Here we go. Look at, what do you think they're doing? They're gazing around, and what do you think they're thinking about? Are they wondering which one's better than the other in terms of corruption, or what do you think? Do you know, was the constitution is being changed and so on, none of these are talking about it. One man's supposedly concerned for the public good and the national good, and he had to go for 9 years to try and change all that and make it better. And the other fellow is come in here promising us, and so they sat there, because this is an old clip, but you know, the point is that you're gazing around.
They were all in the same parliament when they extended the term of the president to another third year.
Absolutely, absolutely.
This is the same parliament.
This is. Now then, back to the Southern Expressway. So per kilometer rate of approximately $19 million per kilometer. The University of Moratu's review committee made some suggestions, said that you really need this amount, and you could reduce the scope of work and settle for a 4-lane, that means 2-lane, yeah, on each side. And they would have been able to make a saving of 123 billion rupees from section 2 and 3 and 4 if they were built as proposed in 2 lanes. Nobody paid any attention, and this was just going on, and the rate is turned out to be, the contractor's rate was 40% more than specified.
Whereas if you recall, I remember very clearly, there were papers in circulation at that time looking for people to come in as contractors and investors for that stretch of land, road.
Yes.
That part that was getting delayed at the latter stages.
Yes.
And you know, the claim was there were huge amounts expected by various people to jack up the prices.
Yes.
And where the country is paying for
and this person who passes off as the Minister of Highways, this country, says that I am not ready to answer any query made by the Auditor General. I'm ready to answer any query made by the Auditor General with regard to the subject, but not to Handuneti. What is Handuneti's qualification to question the work of my authority? Now, is this the same authority that Kirialla used to usurp national tender procurement guidelines and try and bring in a failed and disqualified bidder onto the table, having somehow or other managed to slip in the first contractor, Taisei, who forgot or didn't bother with their bid bond in the first round. And instead of cancelling that tender and recalling it, they just introduced a second round. Is this the power, is this the authority that Lakshman Kirialla is referring to in today's Daily Mirror, page A8? That's a question that I posed to you.
No, Faraz, the answer to that is very simple. Here Kirialla contradicts himself now. He is ready to answer the Auditor General and he is not ready to answer the Corp Chairman. But he forgets the fact that when the Auditor General points out something, it is the Corp Chairman who has to go into that, in investigating or in looking into that. So at that stage, the Corp Chairman is authorized to ask questions and deliver his judgment or ruling as a committee, head of the committee. At that stage, he is good to answer that person. Now he is not answering. He is contradicting himself. He doesn't know what he is talking about.
As I said last week, it is time that Mr. Kirialla spared us the agony of having such a minister in the cabinet and simply resigned and go home. Just go. Just leave us alone.
It's definitely an agony to the public. All these statements,
of course it is.
All these statements
and he's misleading everyone, including, very unfortunately, the Mahanayaka Theras.
Exactly. You know, he puts those things as excuses and he ridicules the whole
process. I mean, I'd have no problem with Mr. Kirialla saying to the most reverend clergy that if he told them the truth, which is, and there is, the truth is very simple, it's just one truth, and that is that Lakshman Kirialla has usurped, bypassed, broken the national tender procurement guidelines. This is not about whether we need this road or we don't need it, and other countries have it, so we should have it too. Well, we can keep up with the Joneses if we need to.
International eye is focused on that. Absolutely. The Japanese government writing a letter through the embassy saying that we respect the tender procedure of this country. What does it mean? First time we are getting a letter like that to this country.
Exactly, and I don't understand why Mr. Kirialla doesn't seem able to distinguish between a consultant to the Japanese government and the accredited Japanese government's representative in the Democratic Socialist Republic of Sri Lanka, also better known as the ambassador of Japan in Sri Lanka.
What is important for us is something that we have missed. In reply to what query or what letter has the ambassador of Japan has written that letter? That is what is important.
In response to a letter written by the Honourable Prime Minister of the Democratic Socialist Republic.
We like to have a look at that if possible.
Indeed. Indeed. But can we end with some good news? What's the good news?
Well, I mean, in the end, we have a sign of a change in the electoral system that we expected.
And then the fact that ladies are going to have...
Yes, of course, the women representation.
Yes.
And also doing away with the proportional system that was a bone of contention in this country, in the electoral system.
But is democracy being hijacked?
Democracy is always like that, you know, the majority always dictates.
Wasn't it President Kennedy who said that democracy isn't easy?
It's not
in
easy.
Berlin.
Yes.
Ich bin, remember that speech, Ich bin ein Berliner.
Yes.
Well, you know, on Monday, on Face the Nation, on TV1, starting at 9:30, is going to be a rather interesting debate. Do tune in and watch. But more on this Southern Expressway as we study that. Deeply saddened by the actions of Mr. Thilan Vijayasinghe, who's the acting head of the PPP, which is a national institution, and leaving out the media, having told the media that the parent body did say that the media could be there, so that saddens us no end. But Mr. Risipali, there is always a silver lining in these dark clouds, isn't there? Yes. So
hope for the best.
Hope for the best. Hope for the best. And by the way, just before we go, the bond. Why is it all? Why is the media all silent? Remind me why. Because they've asked for time to study before they can question Mr. Mindran.
Yes, of course. Yes. It's very necessary.
Indeed, because so some people have been texting and
saying so many things to study, because so many two committees before which Mindran has gone and given evidence. He says something else here.
Yes.
So those contradictions have to be highlighted.
But Mr. Handanetti said that if you lie, get caught lying to cope.
Yeah,
serious trouble.
I'm happy he's getting ready for something good.
Indeed.
Yes.
Right. So if Mr. Mindran's lied to cope, then, you know, God help him.
Yes.
Anyway, I wouldn't want to be in his shoes. Mr. Risipali, thank you very much for being on Newsline, and that's it. Take care and God bless.
Thank you.